Hi everyone, it's Ruben from the Ruby Tuesday here. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into something pretty heavy but incredibly impactful. The documentary series Surviving Black Hawk Down, which is now available on Netflix. So I thought I'd give you a take on both the movie and the series and compare how they each tell the story of the 1993 Battle of Mogadishu. Grab your popcorn because we're about to get into it. So firstly, let's talk about Ridley Scott's Black Hawk Down, the 2001 film that portrays the harrowing events of the battle. For those who might not know, the film is based on a real-life Operation Restore Hope, which quickly turned into a nightmare when a US military mission to capture a warlord went horribly wrong. The movie focuses on the 18 American soldiers who were killed and the dozens who were wounded, and it's pretty intense the whole way through. What I love about the film is how it shows the chaos and the urgency of the battle. Ridley Scott does an excellent job of putting us in the middle of the action. The direction is fast-paced and gritty, and you really get a sense of what those soldiers went through, particularly with the famous helicopter crash scenes. The cinematography, especially with the dust and smoke of Mogadishu's streets, immerses you in the war-torn environment. You feel the tension throughout the film, and the military tech is on point. It feels authentic. But here's the thing, Black Hawk Down is very much an American perspective. It focuses on the soldiers' struggles, their brotherhood, and the absolute mayhem of that day. It shows how heroic and determined these men were, which is powerful, but it doesn't give much attention to the Somali civilians caught in the crossfire. So then we talk about the documentary, Surviving Black Hawk Down. It's a documentary series that has 3 parts as a completely different beast. This doc revisits the same battle, but it does so with a much broader and more human perspective. Instead of focusing solely on the American soldiers, it dives deep into the lasting impact the battle had on the Somali people. It's really well edited. Each episode doesn't just follow the military side of the story, but also highlights the emotional and physical scars that still linger in Somalia today. You hear from Somali survivors, both civilians and fighters who were there that day. They share their stories, and it's honestly very eye-opening. The emotional weight is palpable as they talk about losing family members, their communities being decimated, and the long-lasting trauma they carry with them. Still, obviously, today. You can't help but feel that this side of the story doesn't get enough attention in Hollywood films. In terms of direction, Surviving Black Hawk Down is much more balanced. It doesn't feel like it's taking sides, but instead it gives a voice to those who lived through the violence, showing the long-term repercussions of the battle. The doc humanizes the Somali side, which is something Black Hawk Down didn't do. There's an authenticity to the way the Somali survivors tell their stories, and you can feel their pain and frustration, especially since they don't always get their side of the story told in the media. Which leads me to the editing, how they tell these stories. I think the editing is superb and very compelling to watch. They use some archival footage, some recreations, some testimonies, really makes the whole thing hit home. It's structured in a way that not only revisits the past, but also ties it to the present, showing how the legacy of that one battle is still felt by many in Somalia today, and the soldiers. We flick between both sides, balancing the story of how it felt and what actually went down. You don't just hear the facts, you hear real people tell their stories. Black Hawk Down, on the other hand, it's more traditional in its storytelling. It's action-driven, and the editing keeps up with the tension of the film. It's fast and furious, matching the pulse-pounding pace of the battle, but it doesn't give much breathing room to explore the emotional aftermath. It's intense, but you don't get that depth or nuance. Black Hawk Down is undeniably authentic to the American soldier's perspective. The film does a solid job of showing their courage, their fear and determination under fire. But as mentioned earlier, it doesn't offer much insight into the Somali experience. It's a bit one-sided when you think about it that way. Surviving Black Hawk Down does an excellent job of balancing both sides. You hear from the Somali perspective, and that's a perspective that's often overlooked. It's real, it's raw, and it makes you consider everything you thought you knew about the battle. This documentary is much more about telling the full story, giving voices to people who were affected by the US intervention, and showing how the consequences of that day continue to affect lives. So which one should you watch? Well, if you're into intense action and the heroism of soldiers, Black Hawk Down is still a must watch. It's still one of the best war films ever made, and Ridley Scott does an incredible job of portraying the chaos of war. But if you want something more comprehensive, understanding of the Battle of Mogadishu, and you want to hear from the Somali side of their story, then Surviving Black Hawk Down is where you should go. It's eye-opening, deeply emotional, and it adds depth to the narrative that you just don't get in the film. Anyway, that's my take on both of them. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Have you seen the film? What did you think about the different perspectives? And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe for more reviews. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll catch you on the next one. But remember, live long and Tuesday.